Thank you so much for joining us for Debunking RPA Myths, and I would like to introduce you to our speakers today. First, we have Chris Chapman. He is the chairman of Nihilent Australia. Chris's career in Australia spans 40 years, commencing as a lawyer, subsequently holding senior management positions across broadcasting, internet, broadband, infrastructure, and investment companies. Robin Rastogi is the Senior Vice President and Country Head for Nihilent Australia. With more than 22 years of experience, Robin has performed various roles ranging from program management, corporate strategy, business development, delivery management, project management, competency building, and software development. And then we have Saurabh Navagal. He is the RPA head for Nihilent, and Saurabh has nearly 19 years of experience in IT, spanning across intelligent automation, RPA, application development, and testing in various capacities on service delivery management, program management, project management, with hands-on approach for Fortune 500 clients in BFS, insurance, manufacturing, and logistics domains across the US, Canada, UK, and APAC geographies. And with that, I would like to hand it over to Chris.
Thank you, Caitlin, for that introduction, and to Robin and Saurabh. Three of us are looking forward to this webinar this morning. Just before we get through this agenda, I just wanted to say by way of introduction that 3 years into my decade-long chairmanship of the Australian Communications and Media Authority, the smartphone came out, and it was then that the business world began to really change as traditional models were left exposed. Initially, admittedly, only in a few business verticals, but today in every business and government vertical. And also today, we routinely talk about things like AI and ML, IoT, cloud, blockchain, data analytics, robotics, and any other number of transformations and reconfigurations or indeed reimaginings, all of which are beginning to have a profound effect today on business, government, and perforce our society and day-to-day life. Now, all that's been the new normal for, I don't know, at least the last 5 years or so, but that was before the more recent discussion of a new normal, which has unexpectedly raised its head. And here in this Nihilent webinar, we're going to focus a little on one part of robotics, robotic process automation, RPA, its impact on work and how organisations and governments and regulatory bodies can capture its strategic and financial benefits today, right now. Simply put, RPA takes the robot out of the human. The average worker employed on a back office process has a lot of repetitive routine tasks. And RPA is a type of software, if you like, that mimics the activity of a human being in carrying out a task within a process. It can do repetitive stuff much more quickly and accurately and tirelessly than people can, and frees them up to do other tasks requiring human strengths. And it's going to be important in this webinar to get to understand that RPA is different from cognitive intelligence. RPA deals with simpler tasks, types of tasks, and is pretty ripe as a technology. And Nihilent is at the forefront of this ripeness internationally. Why is it ripe? Well, its time has come, as there are multiple immediate business benefits. And to remind us that Nihilent can deliver those benefits is Robin Rastogi, who's been introduced, and he in turn is going to introduce Saurabh Navagal, our international RPA practice leader, who has the real intel for us today. And in so doing, he's going to debunk a couple of the urban myths that exist around RPA. So, Robin, you're going to just chat for a minute or so about Nihilent and what we're doing.
Thank you, Chris. I think I'm going to do the Nihilent introduction. Following the Nihilent corporate introduction, my colleague Saurabh will then talk about RPA and the intelligent process automation, which is the subject of today's webinar. So who are we? Nihilent is a global consulting and services company that uses a human-centered approach for problem solving and change management. Some big buzzwords there, but that's the essence of our core. You know, we are all about problem solving. We are all about using suitable change management practices And more recently, we've started to look at things like human-centered approach and design thinking to try and identify the customer problems in the first place. And as we walk you through the webinar, you'll see where that element comes in. I mentioned we are technology services company, so we've got some partnerships in place with the likes of Microsoft and SAP. We are gold partners with them globally. Microsoft last year awarded us the 2019 Power BI Partner of the Year. So we are very strong on that particular technology. We are also a CMMI level 5 company, strong quality focus, QMS, processes, and so on. In terms of our core service offerings, I have divided those into 4 blocks, so to speak. The first block on the top left is around business transformation consulting. This is where we work with our clients to look at their business processes, process optimization, re-engineering using Lean, Six Sigma, and similar frameworks. Once we have sort of optimized those business processes, we look at digitally enabling them through the various channels. We work with companies on their digital business strategy execution, and so on. The third pillar is around data science and analytics. A large part of what Saurabh covers today in the intelligent process automation space belongs to this cluster. So this is that cluster which includes RPA plus other technologies that would go about giving the intelligent process automation. And then on the fourth block, we've got platform and technology transformation, which is where we do services like applications lifecycle management, ERP implementation, support maintenance, cloud migrations, and things like that. We work with quite a number of different industry verticals, some of which have been listed there. So we've got a strong presence in banking and financial services. We are working with a lot of fintech companies, media, retail, healthcare, and of course, enterprise. The Australian operations was set up 6 years ago. I came here in 2014, having earlier set up the UK and South African business. In the last sort of 4 to 5 years, we've managed to develop our Australian footprint, right from enterprise clients, which is in the public sector space, to a mix of sort of retail, financial services, and telecom companies. Our service delivery models are basically the global delivery model. So we've got a bunch of solution architects, designers on site or onshore here in Australia, supported by the offshore team. That's in essence who Nihilent is. And with that, I'll hand over to Saurabh to walk us through the RPA journey. Saurabh.
Thank you, Robin, Chris, and Caitlin for the introductions. So good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, based on what time zone you are in, right? And I think we'll be looking at a very interactive session, hopefully. I mean, when I say interactive, I'll be walking through the presentation here, debunking certain myths, and then moving on to the advancements in RPA technology. And then, of course, we would have a Q&A at the towards the end, where you can feel free to ask us questions. And if there's anything beyond that, you can always feel free to write into us, and we'll be sharing those details with you shortly. So yeah, with that, we make a start. So first things first is having a quick look at the evolution of automation, right? So how has automation evolved? So the first thing, the way it started about a couple of decades back, was with simpler process automations, trying to automate certain stuff through batch jobs, use of macros, certain business process management, and rule-based automations, right? And that meant that, it was a little time consuming. It did achieve some automation levels, but then it was time consuming because the technologies were not that advanced at that point of time. So you had to write lines of code to actually even achieve a small benefit out of the automation that you get, right? Then, further advancements happened, and we got into the world of robotic process automation, and that also includes RDA, which is robotic desktop automation. And with RPA being very dominant for the past few years, and it has been the buzzword, as you would have seen and read across, or even seen a lot of videos, right? So RPA essentially builds up on the initial process automation levels that we had, and it is building up such that it is making very easy for the business users to help automate stuff, right? And it is also helping the developers to grasp the technology very swiftly, very quickly, with a lot of complicated stuff under the hood. And it's a simple drag and drop way of approaching automation with a faster turnaround. And it is platform agnostic, so any platforms, it can deal with a lot of complex rules. So then it uses certain advanced technologies such as OCR for reading through images, and it can do a lot more. And we will cover all of those things in detail. And then after RPA, now is the era wherein you would have heard the buzzword of intelligent automation. So bots were primarily as a part of the RPA. They were, as Chris mentioned, they were meant to take the human or the bot outside of a human, right? But now intelligent automation takes it beyond that, wherein it makes the bots pretty intelligent, and that is all dependent on the underlying AI and machine learning technology. Okay, so the bots are now meant to interface with all of these advanced technologies in terms of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and natural language processing, to name a few. So this is how automation has evolved. And now with intelligent automation on the forefront, we are also into the era of hyper automation, and we will be covering that on the subsequent slides. Okay, so coming to the myths around RPA, and these are some very common myths that we keep getting questions on. And we'll look at them one by one, and I'll try to debunk them in the easiest possible way for you. So the first myth that I keep hearing and I get questions around is RPA is just the same as test automation. Well, the fundamental differences are pretty much there, right? So for example, the name itself says RPA is process automation, and we're talking of test automation. So test automation is something which is primarily applied to your testing lifecycle, the software testing lifecycle that happens pre-production, right? So you would want to automate your test cases which deal with system testing or regression test suites or even a part of UAT and so on. But RPA is something that comes at a later point in time at the production level, right? So once your applications are post-production, that is where RPA builds up. And the main difference is that RPA is enterprise scale. So with RPA, you are looking at complex enterprise level automations and not just limited to a specific small set of automations, right? So it helps really tie everything end to end from a process of automation perspective, yielding business benefits. Okay, the next one. So here we have what is RPA is very easy, drag and drop, no programming skills needed. So what that essentially means is the myth is around no programming skills needed. Okay, yes, RPA is quite easy to adopt to, and it is quite easy to learn and pick up as well, because it is pretty much drag and drop to start with. But to gain and achieve real business benefits from end-to-end automations, wherein you have to deal with a lot of complex use cases, your programming skills definitely help you achieve those. Okay, but for simple desktop automations, yes, drag and drop is something that can help you get the job done very quickly. RPA is not suitable to our industry. Okay, so RPA is sort of a magic wand that you may want to call it. So it is industry agnostic, it is platform agnostic, which means it can actually be applied to any and every industry that exists, right? And as long as you follow certain basic fundamental principles of RPA or any automation for that matter, right? Which are something like, you have to have the process which is repeatable, process which is rule-based, process which is high on volumes and very human intensive and well defined, right? So if that is the way, then RPA is definitely the way to go. And that's why it fits in any and all of the pockets of any industry. It could be manufacturing, retail, your insurance, healthcare, banking, finance, name it, and RPA can automate the processes for you. Bots deployed in production need no maintenance. Okay, so what this means essentially is basically people do feel and think that, okay, once a bot is deployed, it can do the tasks laboriously for hours, weeks, and years together, unlike humans who need breaks, right, to be productive. So bots definitely are something that go beyond what humans can do in terms of repeating the stuff with greater accuracy, right? But they do need maintenance, and that all depends on your infrastructure, your application level changes. So let's say you have a bot deployed which is automating your SAP screen or something, some other screens, right? And there are some fundamental UI changes that happen in one of the code releases that happen in 3 or 4 months time, and possibly you have a different UI, possibly you have some different underlying technology. That's where the bot would need some tweaks and some sort of maintenance to actually make it keep it running for you in production. RPA is expensive and does not yield return on investments. Okay, so the way I would like to explain this is basically RPA if you look at just the tool costs, okay, the tool costs are also not too high. And if you look at RPA as a piecemeal approach, probably you might find in places that it is a bit expensive, that you spend something on the tools, licenses, the overall infrastructure for the tool, specific tool, right, and the bots. And then you just probably automate 1 or 2 processes, and that is when you gain some ROI for some time, and then you feel, no, again, it is not really worth it. But that is what the biggest problem is. So you should look at RPA as not a piecemeal, but as something that is holistic and that can get you drive a lot of automations within the organizations. And it definitely, based on the investments that you make, it definitely, gives you a lot of returns in terms of the business outcomes, both back office and front office. Bots will replace humans. Okay, so this is the most common myth or worry that exists in the community these days. And well, the answer to this is that not really. The bots were meant to complement what humans do, right? So and bots don't really have the capability, some unique capabilities that we humans have, like we have lateral thinking, we have creativity and things like that. So those are the things that humans definitely outlast the bots on, right? So bots were actually meant to help you do your repetitive tasks so that you get to focus on your more business critical tasks, which need decision making and some quick responses based on some instincts and gut feels also. So definitely bots will not replace humans, but yes, humans have to embrace the technology. So if you're looking at continuing to do the same old manual stuff the way you were doing, then you will need to embrace automation and probably help your organization in their automation first initiatives and take it ahead. And the last one, RPA is dead. Well, this is a very interesting one, and what this essentially means is it is not dead. It is just getting bigger, larger, smarter by the day. So RPA is now just not RPA, but it is intelligent automation now. With that, we move on to the intelligent automation and its connected experience. So what does intelligent automation mean? So to summarize it, in a nutshell, RPA tied together with artificial intelligence capabilities such as machine learning, predictive analysis, deep learning, natural language processing, and computer vision together mean and lead us to intelligent automation. For the connected experience, okay, so RPA primarily sits on the presentation layer, which is where the humans sit in an organization, right? And it's a very non-invasive technology which can actually tie together a lot of systems for you and a lot of business processes for you. So it could be connected inter-departments, okay, right from your order to cash to your inventory management and procure to pay cycles, and even the financial AP, GL, AR level of updates, right? So it can tie all the business functions of your organization together through automations and give you a real good connected experience. And as a part of that, it gets really complex when you want to automate those end-to-end processes. And RPA and the bots have the capability to interface with all of these systems that you see. So it could very well mean your ERP systems such as SAP, or your emails or your critical workflows that are developed in some other automations. So for example, you have a workflow or some automation that you have done in an Excel or simple macro-based automation or some VB script files that you have. Okay, the RPA can interface and work in conjunction with those workflows to automate and extend your automations. Then it can work with emails. So let's say as a business person, okay, if you're a claims processor, you keep getting insurance claims, okay, through emails from the customers. So all that you get is a probably filled in attached claim forms in an email, and then you sort of manually open that claim form, get those details out of it, log into your claims management system on the insurance platform that you're using, which could either be your domain platform such as Guidewire or Duck Creek or any other platform custom built on legacy systems as well. And then you do that manual data entry, and then it goes on further. So what happens is this typically leads up to piling a lot of backlog, and RPAs can actually take that stuff out of all the manual stuff that you do, and it can actually download, it can actually scan and look through those emails intelligently for the subject lines, and it can find out what emails have come with a document attached which contains claims. It can save those documents to a designated location that you would want it on the cloud or on a shared drive, and then extract that data and put it into the relevant systems that you would want it. So all of that stuff is taken care of by the bot. Okay, and then you can of course see that it interfaces with chatbots, voice, AI, NLP, IoT, machine learning, and a ton of things. So you throw anything at it and it almost does it pretty well and consistently. So for a chatbot and voice bot example, right? So you would have recently seen an example wherein you actually just flash your voice bot and just ask it to book probably a hotel for a hotel table, a table in a hotel or a restaurant for your dinner party, right? So you can just flash up the voice bot and give it the instructions, and it will ask you certain questions as to which location you want it to be booked, and what is the timing that you're looking at, and so on. And based on your answers through voice itself, it is smart enough to interface at the backend with RPA technology, underlying RPA technology, to actually do the hotel booking for you, right? And so this is the whole connected experience that you see with respect to technology, systems, and business functions tied to it. Now, taking intelligent automation further, we have been hearing and listening about hyper-automation. So hyper-automation is the most pervasive trend in Gartner's top 10 strategic technology trends for 2020. So what hyper-automation means is essentially it is the extensive use of artificial intelligence and smart technologies along with RPA, okay, to a great and even greater extent, right? So let's say in your automation cycle, you have certain phases, like you have plan, you have build, you have manage, you have run and engage and measure. So currently what happens is for the build part, it's a low code, no code development. So that is where you would do the development. But before that, you have the planning phase, like any software development lifecycle would have, right? So in the planning phase, what you typically do in an RPA lifecycle is you engage with the business users. The business users try to document the process flows. They try to study the as-is process flows, and they try to document it on some flow charts or some swim lanes. And they give you the as-is snapshot. Based on the as-is snapshot, you then try to build a 2B workflow and try to envisage how the bots would look like and how the entire things would actually come into play, right? So what happens is that this process is currently done extensively manually. But now with hyper-automation, you can look at artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms applied even to such phases, wherein there are platforms which are offering tools that actually help you do process mining and task mining, okay, in an automated way through machine learning. So let's say you have an invoice example, you want to automate some invoice process. So what happens typically is the business users will document the invoice process the way it has been done, right, for the past couple of years maybe, and hand it over to you. But what happens in that case is possibly they may not be able to give you all the exception flows. So they might be able to document the flow charts based on most of the predominant flows that they encounter, okay, but they might as well not be able to figure out or give you the exceptional workflows, right? So that is where this process mining really comes into play, which gives you a good snapshot. What happens is these automation technologies, they interface with your underlying systems. So let's say for the invoicing, you are interfacing with an ERP system, right? You're doing your invoicing on SAP. So what happens is these process mining tools, they actually connect with your data inside those systems, build analytics out of it, build some sense out of that entire data that's been lying in the system for the past couple of years based on the tons and thousands of invoices that you would have in there. And then it'll give you certain flows, okay, and it will also give you certain exceptional flows. So that is a smart way of looking at things, that okay, certain flows, this is where you have probably spent more time, this is where the data is more intensive, these are certain complex level of invoicing activities that were done, and so on. And it also kind of ties it back to the efforts that were spent on doing that invoice, and a lot more details to trying to give you some cost estimates around that as well. So this hyper automation is really taking the advancements of technologies to the next level. So you can see that AI is actually helping you derive and arrive at even the process maps. So the business users don't have to define a process map themselves or draw a process map themselves. So the current offerings from leading RPA vendors, They have automated task mining, task capture, wherein they will just quickly run at the background of your screens and capture what you're doing on the screen, and then generate up an as-is process flow out of it. So how cool is that, right? So you get a ready process flow that can be documented, and you can add on further to it, right, before you pass it on to the development team. And then for the build part, you have your RPA tools, which are low code and no code. It starts with that, but it gets complex, as I mentioned. Definitely some programming knowledge on leading technologies such as .NET definitely does help to expand the capabilities further. Then you have the manage part, wherein you sort of deploy the overall RPA that you have built, right? So you want to orchestrate the entire process runs in an unattended way primarily. So there are two types of bots that you typically look at, right? To be able to orchestrate the runs for those bots from a central location, and that could be on premises or that could be on the cloud. So that is a part of your manage phase. For the run, you have the bot runs, which are attended and unattended modes, as we discussed, right? So attended bots are typically triggered by humans, okay, which could be sitting on your desktop, and you trigger it the time you want them to run and do that automation or the process job for you, and it will do it for you. And for the unattended bots, those are primarily based on triggers, right? So what triggers an unattended bot? So basically, the trigger could either be a time-based trigger, wherein you set your bot or schedule your bot to run at specific times. Let's say you want a bot to check for the incoming invoices at 12 midday every day, right? And even probably 6 p.m. Okay, so you can schedule that bot to automatically run at those given times to fetch the details for you. And then engage, right? So engaging is where you have the bot and human collaboration, wherein the humans and bots get together to work and deploy enhanced automated solutions for the company. And then you have measure. So measuring is wherein your bots actually help you derive insights and give you analytics on operational and business outcomes as well. So all in a nutshell, hyperautomation is taking the game to the next level, wherein you have intensive automations with respect to the heavy use of AI-driven rapid identifications and automating automation opportunities. And also that means that you have to build synergies and empower your business teams, operations, and IT for hyper collaboration as well. Right. So coming to the intelligent automation use case that we have here. So this is a very interesting vehicle insurance claims. Okay, and this is exactly what will demonstrate the use of the advancements in technology. So typical challenge in insurance claims is that claims are usually processed via multiple touch points, and they have high turnaround times, right? And then there are manual inspections involved at almost each stage. So even for a basic small accident case, you still have the inspector going down to the site and checking the vehicle and then giving his report, and then the process, and then the claims are processed based on that. And what that leads to is a higher turnaround time and higher operational costs, and probably which could lead to delays in the claim settlement for the claimant, which could be annoying for the claimant, and you might end up possibly losing that customer when it comes to the renewal of the insurance policy. So the solution that we look at here is based on chatbots, is based on your RPA, your AI, and of course everything driven through cloud, right? So if you look at the diagram on the left, and if you look at the bottom left, the first stage of this process would be, let's say the customer meets with an accident. Okay, the second stage would be, probably let's hope that he's not too bad, right? And he wants to launch a claim then and there itself, right? Or maybe just a couple of hours once he's settled down, then he would launch a chatbot, right? And the chatbot would then have the conversation with the claimant, and that conversation would be very simple in terms of just simply selecting and not really having the claimant to type in a lot of information, because the claimant possibly would not be in that state of mind to actually type in a lot, right? So the chatbot will converse it with him, asking for certain basic information that, okay, what are the details of your policy if you have it, or just give me your mobile number, and it will take the mobile number, fetch the policy details, and let the customer know that, okay, he's eligible for a claim for so and so amount, and this is the policy number. And then it will ask the customer to upload the vehicle damage images, right? So this chatbot, once it asks the customer to upload the damage images, the customer can actually go back to his car and actually take the pictures, click the pictures of his car from all sorts of views based on what damage it is, right? So it could be side views, rear view, or the frontal view, and then upload those images. Now, once the images are uploaded, then that's where your AI comes into play, right? So the artificial intelligence and the machine learning algorithms would actually be able to estimate based on the images uploaded. So based on the algorithms, it will come up, it will assess and analyze the loss, okay, and then it will come up with an estimate, right? And it will then, the chatbot will then give the customer the estimated, okay, we have had a look at your images, and we look and based on the evaluation that we have done, okay, these are the estimates that we are looking at. So it could ask the customer to whether to accept it, or maybe if the customer has certain queries around it, or some further, or if he doesn't agree to it and he needs further discussion, then the bot will redirect the customer to a customer service representative if required. And eventually, let's assume that the loss is and the accident is not too severe, and the estimates are accepted by the customer then and there itself, okay, then the claim payments are immediately disbursed in less than a few hours possibly, right? So with this entire process, right from your chatbots to your artificial intelligence and the RPA processes running in the background, right, to fetch all the policy details and logging data into the claim system and so on, is all done at the click of just a few buttons, right? And what that leads to is ultimately very faster claims processing, and you have your intuitive bots running 24/7. The chatbots are always available at your service, and so are the RPA backend bots. And that eliminates a lot of manual processes, that eliminates and reduces the overall turnaround time, and of course the cost of the operations, and most importantly and primarily is customer satisfaction, because that is what every business wants to achieve at the end of the day, right? So with the claim being settled, in less than a few hours, or maybe less than whatever the SLA for that was, the customer would be very happy, and that is what the end goal for any business is. So with that, I will move on to the next topic of democratization of RPA. So what is democratization of RPA? So simply put, in a nutshell, it is making RPA accessible to everyone in the organization. Okay, it provides opportunities and benefits at all levels of employees. So even if you are not a techie, that's fine. You will always feel at home based on the way RPA has shaped up. And then that leads us to a common term that you keep hearing today is about citizen developers, right? So to citizen developers and the conventional architect type of developers, there's a difference that the architect developers are the tech gurus that you may call, okay? They are your advisors and technical experts, but citizen developers are your day-to-day users, like from the business or from the ops team, who don't really deal with technology day in, day out, but they are smart enough to figure out what they need to automate, and they can do a few quick remote desktop automations, helping automate certain bits and pieces of the process, right? So what that means, how does democratization work, right? So typically it starts with the top level management. So the C-suite are primary sponsors for any automation first initiatives, and then they kind of appoint an intelligent automation center of excellence, which takes the ownership of training and helping the business teams and operations team to actually gain knowledge on RPA, at the fundamentals of RPA, and put them at a level where they can actually start automating stuff, right? So enablers for democratization, top-down and bottom-up automation initiatives. So what that means is initially or currently in the recent past, automations were primarily run top-down, wherein the management was forcing stuff to be automated, right? And we used to have a lot of automation initiatives, and there used to be some resistance, right? So there is to be some resistance from people fearing that probably automation is going to take their jobs away, right? So this very well demonstrates that this is not the case. So what organizations now need to do is and they have already started doing, is they have started focusing on the bottom-up automation initiatives also. So that is wherein you, as the business user or the operations user, as the citizen developer, come up with automation ideas and help build an automation centered company. So that means upskilling and training of the business users, which is primarily done by the RPA or automation champions from the COE, making RPA software accessible to all. So you have to have and procure a platform which you can actually use. And the good thing is, RPA, a lot of RPA vendors offer community editions, which are free to try with all the features, as long as they are not put for commercial use. So you can use those for your learning. You have your task mining, so that is where You help the citizen developers do the task mining and understand and how they can automate their day-to-day processes. Then you have your drag and drop no code rapid workflow automation development, right? So this is what the citizen developers primarily do. So it is quickly drag and drop certain things in a flow chart, and you have your code that's formed behind the scenes on that RPA tool, and you are able to do your complex desktop automations in about a few minutes itself. So you can actually automate any of your daily stuff, like you are entering or filling up some data in some large Excel sheets and some huge templates that can be automated very quickly by the developers, the users, business users themselves. Then how to encourage that is basically, you have the organizations are now having common platforms to share automation ideas, and companies like Ericsson and others, a few clients that we work with, right? So they have started implementing these kind of ideas wherein we jointly work with their COEs to have a common platform to share automation ideas, and which leads us to having reusable automations. So let's say one person has developed some automation that can be reused by other departments. And then, of course, rewarding and recognizing the efforts, and by gamification and botathons. So democratization of RPA is nothing but bringing RPA to the most naive user who doesn't know A of automation. Even he or she can easily pick up with a quick drag and drop interface. Experience benefits of RPA. So we are looking at some benefits, okay, and you would find a ton of these benefits, right, all over the place on the internet. So I won't really deep dive into all of this, but yeah, these are typical benefits that you get to see, which is the operational excellence in reduction of human errors, and then high speeds, efficiency savings, cost savings, and touchless automation, which leads to your straight-through processing without any human intervention, right? And you can even choose to have human interventions for a human in the loop sort of thing, wherein you actually work with the bots together to finalize the outputs. Right, and then it also improves your quality, which really leads to better compliance, adherence, and auditability. Then we look at user experience. So here we're looking at more larger benefits, wherein with respect to your SLA adherence, right? So in the previous example that we saw in terms of the insurance claims, right? So that is where your user experience comes into play. So if the user is happy there, because you have met the SLAs, the user is more likely to stick to your company, go for the renewal, or possibly buy more policies from you, and so on and so forth. So, and of course, you get a good customer satisfaction rating with that improved user experience, right? And then you talk of business outcomes and customer experience. So user experience and customer experience, right? So business outcomes nowadays are focusing more on the customer experience, which is wherein you are trying to maximize profits by reducing costs, increasing the workforce productivity, which is by helping automate the mundane tasks of your back office operations. At the same time, now the focus is shifting to your front office automations as well. So the customer onboarding, customer interactions, and a lot of those things that are being done by contact centers or call centers, they are all being automated, so that you have a good mix of front end as well as back end automations, front office and back office automations, right? And enhanced customer experience will lead to a good net promoter score. So the customer satisfaction here is typically, as you know, right? So user experience could be specific to one functionality of your offerings, right? So let's say in the previous example of the insurance, right? So the customer had a good claims response time, right? So he was happy. So that was a good user experience. But let's say he faces some problems with respect to some other claim that he would have had, or buying some policy from you, then he would not have a good experience there. So overall, he had a good user experience there for the claims part, but as a company, as a brand that you are, okay, the customer experience for that particular user was not really good enough. So businesses are now focusing automations to drive enhanced customer experiences, and not just limit to your back office operation level activities, or even just a single module for that matter. Right, and this all leads to ultimately even a healthy supplier and vendor and partner enablement. So what that means is, if your suppliers are satisfied, if you have faster automation, you have faster turnaround times for your automated payment releases, okay, based on the invoices that you get from your suppliers or vendors, right? So if you pay the suppliers on time, they would be happy and possibly give you further discounts on their products, and give you some better deals, okay, which eventually help you strengthen your relationships, right? With that, we'll come to the use cases, and there are a ton of use cases across all industries. So insurance, we saw the chatbot AI RPA use case, and there are far more use cases that you can even try to fit in on one slide. But I'm just trying to go through some use cases which we have been involved in and which have been experienced in the industries across, right? So in the insurance world, you have an underwriting submissions use case wherein data comes in, the policy or the quote data comes in from various insurance brokers to the underwriters for validating and processing further. And the data comes in the form of some filled in forms, which are in predefined templates or probably custom templates. So intelligent document extraction comes into play here, which is nothing but your document. In the past, you had OCR. So OCR was used to extract data from your scanned images in a PDF, right? So let's say you have a scanned document which has data in it. So OCR was used to extract data from that scanned image. But intelligent document extraction now takes it further with the use of machine learning and AI under the hood, wherein you are able to classify the document type smartly. So next time, even if you get an invoice which has some changes to it in terms of the layout, the system is still smart enough to know what fields are where. So if, let's say, if you have the invoice number initially at the top left, okay, of the document, and the next time the invoice comes in wherein the invoice number is at the top right, then the system would still be smart enough to sense that and still be able to extract that invoice number correctly for you, right? Then for the banking, so payment holidays. So this is a very common use case that we've come across recently, okay, with respect to the COVID-19. So a lot of people and the banks, a lot of banks are allowing for deferring loan payments, right? It could be your mortgages, it could be your loans, home loans, or even credit card loans that you would have taken. And deferring those was not easy to be rolled out for the customers who want to opt for it, right? Because it needs a lot of updates to certain systems so that the customer doesn't show as a defaulter in the credit reports. So this is a very classic use case in the current times that the banks are implementing. Then we have customer service request handling, wherein you have some customer service requests coming in through your CRM system, and that's being handled for a quicker resolution. You have post-trade activities, fund allocations being done by fund management companies based on clients' requests. Coming to the CPG, which is consumer packaging, retail, and manufacturing industry. So you have, again, a classic or the most current use case for COVID-19 typically is what we get is, you have the lockdowns being implemented, right? And the lockdowns can happen very suddenly based on the increase in numbers. And then what those lockdowns bring is they kind of restrict deliveries of certain products to certain areas, right? So based on those things, the systems have to be updated in such a way smartly that you actually kind of allocate those addresses or those areas in the system and mark them as maybe your containment zones and restrict only the delivery of certain items to those places. So all that automations happen at the back end, and it is literally overnight that needs to be done. And we can get to do that in just less than a few hours with RPA. Then you have approval workflow. So this is this is again one of the use cases that we have recently been doing for one of our esteemed customers, okay, for new customer onboarding through CRM and then certain assets installation. So this is for a leading beverage vendor, okay, a world beverage leader actually. So wherein he or she have to install certain assets at a retail outlet, maybe certain coolers or refrigerators with branding. And all those requests are taken up in an automated way, and the workflows, the workflows and the approval workflows tied to all those requests are automated. Then we've again been involved in a lot of procure to pay use cases, typically for a manufacturing company, wherein you could have site requests coming in that they need some material, right, for manufacturing certain things. And so what happens is, if that request comes in for that material, you go back to your inventory department, check the product list. If that is available in stock, you very well may dispatch it to the site. But if it is not available in stock, then you would want to interact with your suppliers, ask for quotations, and then raise purchase orders. And then finally, based on the goods received, you will have to do the invoicing. So all this part as a part of the AP and a part of the procure to pay, right, from the site requests to the invoice and payment releases, and updating and matching the invoices, two-way matching, three-way matching, right, in your ERP system. So all of that is taken care of in an automated way through RPA and intelligent automation. Then coming to IT, so this is again a very frequent use case that we are involved with our customers, which is the asset creation. So let's say you have new employees coming in and you want your assets to be created. That person needs to have his assets created, a virtual machine on the cloud, and it needs to go through certain levels of approval and a certain cost associated with. So all those things are taken care of at the back end, and we have our automations running, tying all those workflows together. Patch updates, a very common scenario again in the IT industry across organizations. I'm sure all your organizations also probably deal with this, and you probably have a solution, automated solution to do those and deploy the patches across your organization. For media and entertainment, so we have, again, we are working with one of the leading media and entertainment clients in one of the geographies, right? And there are quite a few interesting use cases. So one of those could be your campaigns and offers, which is where, let's say you have a satellite TV provider, right? And they run certain offers based on the channel packs that you subscribe to. Okay, they select, like for example, they said, okay, you subscribe to this channel pack, for the sports channel pack, for the next 3 months, and we will give you these discounts, or maybe we'll give you a 1 month additional service for another pack or something on those lines. So all those validations and the customer payments, whether the customer has paid on time, what subscription he has taken, what offers is he eligible for, and what are the campaigns that he or she has taken. Everything is automated at the back end, and the turnaround time is extremely less, wherein it's a very quick response, wherein the customer gets up and running with the offer and the campaign being applied to him. And then, of course, account deactivation, again, one of a very common use case based on non-payments within the renewal timelines. Okay, so you could have a ton of customers, not only within the same country, but possibly you are a leading M&E provider across countries, which is what our esteemed client is, right? So they offer services across multiple countries as well. And so this is also one of the common use cases that we have implemented. And then data. So data is about insights and data migration. So you can look at your automations to run from automating legacy systems and modern systems on premises, migrating data from one system to the other, which some systems that could lag API capabilities, and you can do all sorts of data migrations and business intelligence around it. Okay, then how would you actually go on to doing your driving your COE and automation journey? So basically 3 pillars. One is the enterprise strategy, process automation, and task automation. And how that works is basically you set your goals for your digital transformation and allocate funds. So which will be aligned to your enterprise strategy, which means it is an overarching strategy to have an automation first mindset. Then you possibly set up an RPA COE for an enterprise-wide scale automation. And that COE could well be outsourced, a joint COE, or an in-house COE. And the tenets of those COEs would be, a good factory model, which will keep the churn going on for your automations, providing the right platform, frameworks, and essential toolkits. Technical talent, of course, democratization, which is something which we spoke of, because that is only when you would actually succeed in your automation initiatives, wherein you have automation running in the blood of everyone in the organization. Then you have your AABA QA model, which is the automation architect, business analyst, and quality analyst or quality assurance model, right? So all these 3 experts have to work together to make sure to ensure robust robotic implementations. Then you have bot optimization. So we have recently helped a few clients actually optimize their bots, right? So for example, you already have some bits of RPA running and you want some optimizations to help derive more returns on investments and minimize your costs. So that is where we went in with a microscopic lens to try and find out the inefficiencies around the bots being deployed and the cycles, and we have helped optimize and gain better ROIs for our clients. Bot maintenance, of course, which is required, as we spoke of in the previous slides, and the COE costs. So nowadays, with the COVID thing, you can look at minimizing your COE costs. So rather than just looking at on-site the COEs, you can look at off-site COEs, wherein you need not have employees necessarily located at the same location that your company is, and you can very well look at off-site COEs to reduce your costs. So with that, we come to the summary and a quick recap before we move on to the Q&A. So the first thing is RPA and intelligent automation is one of the fastest growing technology segments. You would not be going wrong if you are planning to get into this as a developer or as a business person or as a C-suite person who wants to take a decision. And if you are hesitant to, democratizing RPA within your organization, then we spoke of all the different aspects of the automation, which is right from your RFS remote desktop automation to process automation, intelligent automation, and the hype around hyper automation. So the future is full of robots and cobots. So cobots, what is cobots? Is basically the bots working with the humans, right? So it's a coordinated efforts between humans and bots to make automations happen with human in the loop. So you use the bot's strength of doing tasks relentlessly with the human intelligence also, and you have a very foolproof and robust automation running. Then you have platform agnostic and industry agnostic RPA. So RPA, as I mentioned, is platform independent and industry independent. You can apply to any platforms and any industry. So we looked at top-down and bottom-up approach. This is which is very important to get your automation first initiatives working and giving you ROIs. And what that means is essentially democratization of RPA. Focus shift that is happening from back office to front office is what we spoke of. Increased focus on the user experience and customer experience as a whole, and not just containing and confining your RPA to backend operations. And last but not the least is adopting dedicated approach, which is COE based rather than a piecemeal. And with that, we come to the end of this presentation, and I hope you are as happy and enlightened as this guy here that you see on the screen, right? And I'll be more than happy to take a few questions.
Wonderful, Saurabh. Thank you so much for all of that. We have a few questions in the queue already, and the rest of you, if you have any questions that you want to ask, please enter them into the questions pane in the menu bar, and we will get to as many as we can in the next 7 or so minutes. So for the first question that we have, it is, what is the difference between desktop automation and RPA?
Okay, so I believe we've covered some bits of it, but yeah, desktop automation would primarily mean something that you actually do on your desktop. So it could be, some sort of data entry that you do on certain systems or certain Excel sheets or certain applications, okay? Or it could even be as simple as if let's say you are an employee and you are filling your time sheets, right, that are recorded onto some timesheet system. Then if you automate that part of the manual work that you're doing, that is actually desktop automation. But for a process automation, you might look at end-to-end processes. So let's say you have your invoicing process. So invoicing process has multiple components to it, which probably has interfacing with different systems, interacting with emails, interacting with attachments. So all sort of that sort of automation, tying all the pieces together to make sure that you have a seamless process end to end and a straight through process possibly. That is your robotic process automation, and that's how it is. That's the difference.
Wonderful, thank you. Next question, can RPA automate legacy systems such as mainframe or SAP ECC?
Oh yes, so RPA can definitely, as I mentioned, it is platform agnostic and industry agnostic as well, right? So it can automate mainframes. You can easily readily automate all your green screens based on the cursor movement and everything. And SAP ECC, everything can be automated. Even if you don't have APIs, the front-end automations can still be done, and we have had some exceptional results doing that for our clients as well.
Wonderful. The next question is, when you're doing a client engagement, when you're implementing RPA, do you ever rank them on a scale of their level of automation, or is there an RPA index or something that kind of tells people where they're at?
Yes, there are certain underlying parameters that we use to try and understand their level of maturity, and they could be on the lines of what sort of stuff they've automated, what is the data that they are looking at in terms of the automations, and what is the level of maturity that they are at in terms of the talent, what are their development teams like, and what is the knowledge levels of those teams and so on. So yeah, all those things are taken into factor, and of course not forgetting the bots that were deployed by the client, and what are those bots doing, are they optimally managed, and all those sort of things lead us to trying define an index to what their maturity levels are and taking it further from there.
Wonderful. The next question, would you need to procure separate tools for separate activities for intelligent automation, hyper automation, like process mining and AI?
All right. Well, there are separate tools available as well, but then nowadays the platforms, like we have been extensively working on the leading platforms such as UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, Microsoft, Power Automate. So now all these mature platforms are offering everything as a one-stop shop. So they offer all the AI stuff under the hood as a part of their offerings itself, and they also have capabilities to bring your own license for anything else that you want. So if you have already built a custom AI for some process activities that you have, you can very well plug and play those AIs into your RPA using these tools also. So you can use a single platform to almost achieve the results that we just spoke of.
Wonderful. Next question is, can documents such as invoices coming from multiple vendors in different custom formats like Excel, Word, PDF, scanned documents be automated for extraction?
Yes, they can. Predominantly, more than 95-98% of those sort of documents can be automated, provided that they are definitely not bad handwritten documents. While the technology has evolved quite a lot, that you can actually even extract the handwritten documents, but it all comes down to the quality of handwriting that is there in it. But with the intelligent document extraction algorithms based on machine learning that are available, you can literally extract data from all sorts of complex documents, and that could mean a document having 30-40 pages with a lot of complex stuff in it also. So invoicing automation for all varieties can definitely be done as a straight-through process also for most of the times.
Wonderful. The next question is, we use Microsoft Platform for all of our tasks. So would Microsoft RPA be best suited for our automation?
Well, yes. So if you're on the Microsoft ecosystem, then definitely that is the place you can start with. But if you wish to, if there are certain complex levels of automations, you can also have the facility of interfacing your Microsoft ecosystem with any other vendors that you would want. Like, for example, let's say you have UiPath licenses also, and you want to tie both the things together, wherein you want to maybe call some process on the UiPath orchestrator through your Microsoft flows, right? Or vice versa. With the APIs that are available at both ends, you can definitely do seamless automation using your Microsoft automations for workflow automations and expand them to your enterprise level automations using any other RPA tools that you would also have.
Wonderful. And it looks like we have time for one more question. So sorry if we didn't get to all of your questions. If you do have further ones, please email us. But the last question I will ask is, which RPA tool is currently the best?
Oh, well, that's a very tricky question. And I get asked this very often, right? So the way I would put it is all RPA tools in the market, the leading tools do the job that they say that they would do, right? And with the advancements of technologies like AI and everything coming in play, they are all scaling up and rapidly deploying those enhancements. So all the tools are good, okay? So you have to find what suits your industry, what suits your infrastructure, and probably do a few POCs for those tools. But I would still say that you have Automation Anywhere, UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism as leaders based on certain research and analyst firms like Gartner. Okay, so you have Gartner's Magic Quadrant, right? That shows where these RPA tools are. So you have UiPath as the leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and Automation and Blue Prism are very close to UiPath. Right, and probably next year you might as well see Microsoft coming up somewhere close by.
Wonderful. And with that, that ends our Q&A section. So if you guys want to close out the webinar, I will hand it back to you guys.
Thanks, Caitlin. I'll just do the closing. I think thanks, Saurabh, for a very interesting session on RPA and intelligent process automation. Our takeaways are that many companies who thinking of RPA are looking for quick wins and piecemeal initiatives. I think that's a wrong approach. Another common mistake people do is look at a tool proliferation. Oh, is this technology best, UiPath or Blue Prism or Automation Anywhere? I think that's fine. We should know what technologies are out there. But at the end of it, at the end of all of this, I think the opportunity that's presented is a greater opportunity. It is to fundamentally relook at your business processes and examine closely the scope of automating different parts of that process, which is where once we've defined that scope, we can bring in all kinds of technology to first look at the RPA piece and then bring in things like AI, machine learning, cognitive, and all the good things that Saurabh spoke about to do the intelligent process automation. With that, I think that would be our closing statement. Thanks everyone for joining. There are email IDs which have been presented, so feel free to send us your questions and we will be more than happy to answer them, or indeed have separate sessions to discuss your specific sort of initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.